Imagine a bandit so cruel that he broke into a prison just to hunt down his enemy, kill him, and stick the man's head on a spike for the whole town to see. Well, that sounds cruel enough, but I think what's even more absurd is getting shot in the head while sleeping, just because you snored too loud. These outlaws were ruthless and merciless. And today, you're going to meet the 7 most dangerous Wild West bandits that ever lived. We'll start with number 7 and work our way up to the top one. Number 7. Sam Bass. Despite his knack for doing wrong, not everyone started off with a talent for crime. Sam Bass, for example, was actually a good guy. Born on July 21, 1851, in Mitchell, Indiana, Sam lived an honest life. He worked as a newspaper delivery boy, a carriage driver, and did whatever he could to get by. But he had a serious problem. He was completely addicted to gambling. He bet on everything in sight, but his real weakness was horse racing. And like most gamblers, he lost more than he won, and was always in the red. Tired of the hard life, he decided to go down the easier path. He started robbing small banks. That's when he realized where the real money was: in train robberies. In 1878, Sam planned a major heist with his gang. They intercepted a Union Pacific train and got away with what would be worth around $2 million in gold today. It was one of the biggest robberies of that era. The job was so bold that the gang decided to split up afterward to avoid suspicion. But Sam, apparently addicted to adrenaline, couldn't stay away from action for long. He put together a new crew and tried to rob a bank in Texas. What he didn't know was that there was a traitor among them. An informant tipped off the police, and Sam walked right into a trap set by the sheriffs. During the shootout, he managed to escape but was seriously wounded. The next day, Sam was found lying in the dirt, bleeding and too weak to move. He was taken back to town, where he died shortly after, on July 21st, 1878, his 27th birthday. His final heist turned out to be his last. But if you thought Sam Bass's story was wild, just wait until you meet number 6, Clay Allison, the savage of the frontier. Clay Allison wasn't just a notorious gunslinger. He was a true maniac of violence. Born on September 2, 1841, near Waynesboro, Tennessee, Allison started down the path of madness early in life. His fame spread quickly, especially after a shocking episode in 1870 when he led an angry mob to the local jail. But not to save anyone. His goal was to drag out Charles Kennedy, a man accused of multiple murders, just to kill him with his own hands. After the lynching, Clay decided that wasn't enough. He decapitated the man and, like something straight out of a horror movie, stuck the head on a spike at the entrance of the town saloon. Can you imagine the trauma for the kids walking by? And if you think that was the peak of his madness, think again. Clay Allison was also known for riding naked through town, wearing nothing but his revolver. He was the living definition of unhinged. But the most unbelievable story of all involves a dinner with his sworn enemy, the dangerous Chunk Colbert. Chunk had already killed 7 men and made no effort to hide his hatred for Clay. Even so, Allison accepted an invitation to dinner with him, and during the meal, as expected, Chunk tried to kill him. But as he reached for his gun, Colbert fumbled and hit it on the table, just enough time for Clay to react. In the blink of an eye, he drew his revolver and fired a single bullet straight between Colbert's eyes. When someone asked why he agreed to have dinner with a man who wanted him dead, Clay calmly replied, "Because I didn't want to send a man to hell on an empty stomach." Clay Allison was a ticking time bomb of insanity and violence. But the next name on our list is just as explosive. He started his criminal career as a teenager, claimed to have killed more than 40 people, was imprisoned, and then made a comeback as a lawyer. That's number 5, John Wesley Hardin, the impulsive killer. If there were an award for the most psychopathic outlaw of the Wild West, John Wesley Hardin would be one of the top contenders. His first crime happened during childhood, when he stabbed a schoolmate after a silly little fight. By the age of 15, his deadly impulsiveness had escalated. He killed a man after a trivial argument, and instead of fleeing, he doubled down and shot 3 soldiers who tried to arrest him, all while still just a rebellious teenager. Throughout his bloody career, Hardin was accused of killing at least 20 men, though some say the real number was much higher. His favorite method? Killing anyone who dared to challenge him, for any reason. He was so impulsive and violent that one night, while staying in a hotel, he got annoyed by the loud snoring of the guest in the next room. Furious, he fired his gun through the wall, hitting the man in the head while he slept. Terrified by what he'd done, he escaped through the window under cover of night. Eventually, Hardin was captured and spent 14 years in prison, where he claimed to have killed at least 40 people. While behind bars, he turned his life around, or so it seemed. He studied law and became a lawyer. He tried to live a normal life, but his violent nature spoke louder. He went back to committing crimes just to unleash his rage. After this new wave of violence, he was gunned down while playing dice in a saloon, never even realizing who the shooter was. It was the very police officer he had threatened just a few hours earlier. What an irony, huh? But if you think it ends here, just wait until you meet number 4. Cherokee Bill, the merciless outlaw. Crawford Goldsby, better known as Cherokee Bill, built a bloody reputation during his short life. Between 1894 and 1895, he was involved in at least 13 murders and a series of brutal robberies. It all started when he confronted a man who had assaulted his brother. But fearing he might be beaten up too, Bill made a drastic decision. He pulled out his gun and killed the man in cold blood. From that moment on, his life became a constant run from the law. He joined the infamous Cook Gang, a group of criminals who specialized in robbing banks, trains, and stagecoaches. To get a sense of how intense his criminal career was, just look at one stretch of his timeline. On June 17, 1894, he killed a deputy. The following month, on the 4th of July, he murdered 2 more people. 2 days later, another man fell to his bullets. By the end of the month, he and his gang robbed an entire bank, and that became his routine. Crime after crime, until he was finally captured in January 1895. Even in prison, Cherokee Bill didn't lose his violent nature. Somehow, he managed to get his hands on a revolver and attempted to escape, shooting a guard. The plan failed, and on March 17, 1896, he was hanged. When asked for his final words, his reply was cold and simple. "I didn't come here to talk, I came here to die." Number 3. George Big Nose Parrott, the criminal with the embarrassing name. While many outlaws had intimidating nicknames like Shotgun John or Pistol Pete, George Parrott became known as Big Nose George, a name that only fueled his frustration and bloodlust. He started out robbing trains and stealing cattle, but quickly escalated to murder. His criminal career came to an end in 1878, when he attempted to derail a train but was spotted by a railroad worker. Knowing his identity had been discovered, he fled to a remote canyon. But 2 sheriffs, both expert trackers, followed his trail. George and his gang killed them both, turning him into one of the most wanted men of the time, with a bounty equivalent to over $600,000 today. When he was finally captured, George tried to escape by soaring through his chains and attacking his jailer, but was stopped by the jailer's furious wife. Soon after, a group of enraged citizens dragged him out of his cell and lynched him on the spot. In a bizarre twist of fate, his skull was turned into an ashtray, and his skin was made into a pair of shoes, both of which are still on display in museums today. Number 2. Bill Doolin, founder of the richest gang in the West. Bill Doolin was a master of crime. He founded the Wild Bunch Gang, which, between 1892 and 1896, amassed over $5 million from bank and train robberies. With that kind of money today, you could buy a luxury mansion, or maybe just a used car, depending on inflation. Doolin's gang became one of the richest and most powerful in the Wild West. But that also drew heavy attention from the law. One by one, his men were taken down, until Doolin himself was captured. However, just 6 months later, he got his hands on a gun while in jail and forced a guard to set him free. His escape didn't last long. Cornered on a farm, he was urged to surrender. But instead, he chose to shoot at 20 lawmen. He was gunned down instantly. Number 1. Killer Jim Miller. The professional hitman. Jim Miller was an anomaly among outlaws. Not only was he a hired killer, but he also once served as a lawman. Over the years, he racked up an impressive body count, possibly up to 50 victims. He charged $150 per assassination, which would be the equivalent of around $5,000 today. In 1908, Miller was hired to take out a former deputy, but he made a fatal mistake. He left behind a witness. He and his clients were arrested, but before they could even face trial, the local townspeople took justice into their own hands and lynched them all. While the other three men begged for their lives, Miller simply shouted, "Let's get it over with," and jumped to his own death. These were the 7 most dangerous outlaws of the Wild West. Now tell me in the comments, which one did you think was the craziest? Thanks for sticking with me all the way. This is Mr. Square signing off. If you liked this content, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.